about now? What about now? How's that? See, it wouldn't be a signal if we didn't have some corvofractus interruptions. We got all kinds of wild shit happening. Cool. Is that back? We good? Mute stream? Yeah, actually, this is an interpretive stream. This entire... Well, you're supposed to just read my lips and see how it goes. Well, we got the amazing Strasz on today. Strasz, you there?
Yo, yo, yo.
Okay. Everybody, let me know if you can hear Strasz as well, just to make sure, because, again, we're under attack constantly from strange interruptions and interferences. What up, Strasz? How you doing? I'm happy to have you.
Chilling.
Chilling?
I'm happy to be here. I wouldn't be anywhere else. Literally, I don't have anywhere else to be.
Well, thank you. It's the least you could do then.
It's true.
I think it was muted when I was saying, what's up to the chat? What's up? Amoth, Theo, I see some hive spine, a fractal headache. I see Ari, I see Banana Sandwich. I see the mage, the grayest mage. I see the Cynthiest Sizer. I see all the homies on deck. We got Frank will be behind us taking a tour of the metaverse. The term, which I guess we're gonna have to talk about because
Are you gonna really let me rant about the metaverse for?
We're gonna have to talk about that because yeah, we're gonna have to talk about metaverse. But yeah, so this is Signal. Welcome if you've never been here before. We talk about all kinds of crazy shit. We talk about aliens, we talk about AI, we talk about VR, we talk about the metaverse, we talk about technology, we talk about philosophy, and anything and everything in between. Sometimes we get nasty too. You just never know what's gonna happen. And I have a feeling we'll touch nearly all those bases. We got significant bald energy in the voice chat today.
It's actually massive.
It's almost dangerous. It's almost dangerous how bald this shit is. I see a Tupper in the chat. I think everybody's probably getting cranked, getting ready to for ShelterCon. And are you anywhere near? I forget your approximate geography. Which side of the country are you on?
I'm on the East Coast.
Okay.
I'm on the East Coast, and I'm a coward, so I'm not. I'm not about to fly across the country and risk COVID to go to ShelterCon, but
yeah,
I'm there in spirit.
Yes. It looks awesome. I wish that I could be there as well. I just have to hold it down out here in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of nowhere for a little bit longer. But one day, friends, we will all be united. Oh, what's up, Snacks? I see a Snacks. I see a Mad Marchie. Wow, the chat is full of friends today. Yeah, so the metaverse conversation. Let's just crack open a cold one right away.
Just pop in.
What's
where do you begin?
Yeah. So what's your 10,000 foot take on that?
All right, hold on. I gotta take a big old. Okay, actually, my wife popped her head in just a second ago, and she because I told her where I was gonna be doing, like at 10, and she's like, "Oh, you're with Ohm," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "He's the bald dude, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, it's like your Hair Club for Men podcast," and I'm like, "That's very sweet of you." Go to bed.
Yeah, that's fucking. Hey, it's the more like the Skin Club for Men. I'm bald. I'm bald, and I love this shit.
Got that Polish Club for Men.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the metaverse. I hate it. I hate that shit. Oh man. So all right. There's I feel so weird about it because it's I don't hate the concept of the metaverse for what people like us mean when we say metaverse. What I hate is what it's turned into. It's basically just become another buzzword that means Web 3.0. It's just it's another way for corporations to sell concepts that we've already had back to us. Kind of not super interested in that. But I think there's also a really interesting philosophical discussion to be had about what the metaverse is, because a lot of people kind of had this take, right, where I don't know if you've heard this, but at Facebook they have people read Snow Crash, right, which is the book where the term metaverse came from, and they have people read it. They have people read a lot of this cyberpunk fiction.
Fucking sweet.
And it's oh yeah, read this kind of stuff. And thing is everything that they're doing makes them the bad guy in like every every cyberpunk novel that exists. But if you're hugely rich or like just cracked out on a nonstop stream of like technology in Silicon Valley, then you're gonna sit there and be like, "Yo, this is a great idea."
It's bizarre,
Like,
right? How these things like it's weird. I'm not close enough to any of it to understand how the phenomenon takes place. I just know that we see it. Like we see these things like become these like strange like they'll be like, oh, this is the thing we're against. You become the thing you're against, or like the I don't know, what is it, like you're so focused on the barrel that you just hit the barrel, or what? Like it's like don't hit the barrel, so you become the barrel. I don't understand how you could be a company like that and not see that you're just like straight up straight up part of the problem.
well, it's like, so this is what I always come back to, right? Like there's a lot of people that have written about this, and they always come to this what I think is a mistake. They always think that like, oh, they're dumb, right? Like, you know, Zuck's dumb. He's sitting there and he doesn't really get the point of these books. I think he does get the point of this book, right? I think the problem is that it's a different interpretation of reading something like Snow Crash. Like this cohort reads Snow Crash and comes out the other end like, wow, some of that shit was really cool, but like this is a pretty scary future to be stuck in. You know, they understand the kind of warning that's coming from it, where I think someone like Zuck sees it as like, okay, there's some scary shit, but that's opportunity. Like
yeah, wow.
Like it's not, I don't think that the reading is wrong. I think it's just they're flipping it on their head and that's what they're seeing, right? Like you see the metaverse in Snow Crash and you see Port Zero not as like this place that is an escape from a broken reality. Rather, you see it as like, oh, we could be like David and we can be like, you know, the characters that built the metaverse. We can control this entire place and basically be kings in this like second level of reality.
Right, so
I think that's what they see.
So now here's a good business opportunity. What we need to create is a bookstore for supervillains, right? So like it's intentionally designed to inspire supervillains. Like it's you know, because the whole world's just catering to the protagonist always winning. Like, and fuck that, obviously. That's not doing anybody, that's not doing anyone any good. You can't get rich at being the protagonist.
No. I dig that. I dig that.
There's not enough support for supervillains these days. It's really quite a shame. They're just so put upon. The world's out to get them. I think
Can
that's
you imagine like
funny as fuck though. Think about someone reading a book like that and being like, you know what though? The bad guy's rich as fuck, you know? I'm just saying. I mean, why not?
yeah, like it's that's kind of the vibe, right? It's like someone reads that and it's just like completely ignores all the bad shit and just like hones in on, wait a second, we can control people's brains? Like just like 100% just right there.
Yeah, that okay, and shit's quickly heading into some super sketchy territories. Like, poof, like I'm excited about the possibilities, just like anyone else is, of like what you can do with like eye tracking for controlling UIs and for having an experience that's, you know, an elevated experience, I guess, in VR, AR, XR context. But just that data alone, like, let's just like take the brain stuff off the table, like, or you know, just tracking like your eyes and the little micro expressions in your face. Like, there's an insane amount of data to be harvested with that. I think we were talking about that the other day. But yeah, so I mean, to start, because that's a whole different rabbit hole, and maybe we can come back to it. But to come back to the metaverse conversation, I agree that it is now turned into like, you know, it's whatever idea you were working on, now you just need to fucking slap the metaverse sticker on it. And there's like no like it's losing its context to like the, you know what I'm talking about, to just like this whole like just cheesy like buzzword, like weird broed out fucking tech space. And I don't, mean to fling shade on anybody that uses the word metaverse, whatever project you're working on. If you're excited about that shit, it's fine. It's just that I think it's especially a sensitive thing to people that spend a significant amount of time in virtual spaces together, where the idea of a metaverse is, to me, is impossible without a community inside of it. And that's something that like is usually pretty like void. It's like the last thing considered with a lot of shit that I am seeing that's in early phases, that's fucking around with AR, VR, and XR is or whatever you want to call metaverse. Like, I've seen so many strange loose definitions of it where I'm like, what, how, what, just because there's like it's a space like online, then so you're just, now that's what you're saying. But a lot of this shit, a lot of these platforms, a lot of these ideas are missing the entire, in my opinion, the entire, like, the most glorious thing about all of this is how it recontextualizes your ability to communicate with technology.
Oh man, I'm gonna get into this early now. So there's there's actually there's a lot of philosophical writing on the phenomenology of internet communities and just communities in general, and what makes them work and what makes them special and good places. And one of the things that's really interesting is one of the cool ways that a lot of philosophers, and this was specifically directed towards like MUDs and like early internet communities, and then like later things like even like Second Life. And one of the things that they thought a lot about was that early people talking about the internet and how it's going to change things thought that it was going to be something magical, just like about the internet, like it's just going to connect people or whatever. What they found though was the real, I say found like it's science, right? Like what they would talk about is the real special thing were the communities that would pop up, and then the ideas that would spring forth from those communities. And that is what people could then latch identity onto and then connect like real bits of meaning to. And I think that's like what it's about. I think that's why all these other platforms that are trying to attach metaverse to it, why they don't make sense, because they don't really have community, right? Like, if one of the reasons I hate the metaverse as a term is I think it's kind of just outdated. Like, it's not bad. I think, like you said, like there's cool projects that people still attach metaverse to. The concept as a thing, as a touchstone for like virtual reality is still cool. But I think we've moved on to get more specific about like what makes it cool. So it's like with social VR, right? With something like VRchat, what makes it cool isn't like the technology or anything else. It's the fostering of communities within that space that can then take advantage of all those things and make cool things and allow people to do cool things that they otherwise literally could not do anywhere else. Like, it creates a special community that cannot be replicated. And I think that's what is hard for big corporations to really understand, is like, you could have a VRchat clone. Every single thing could be the exact same as VRchat. And you can give it like 2 years to kick up and go. Whatever happens on that platform, the community that takes place is going to look radically different than what exists on this platform. It cannot be replicated.
Yeah, well, it's like, game of life. Like, the seed is different. It's
exactly.
It's gonna be shaped by the ideas contained within. And I think there's not a hollow enough space often. I think one of the strengths of a place like VRchat is that due to its sandbox nature, it creates a useful emptiness and a place that can scale to the size of the dreams contained within, right? I think that people, I think a lot of like products are trying to force a certain mechanic down. I mean, whatever, that's fine. Like, if like you make a thing that does a specific thing, not saying fuck you can't say metaverse ever, but like, but yeah, I think there's definitely needs to be, I don't know. I think we just need more words, is what it is, which is nothing new. I just think that like we're terrible at explaining some of this shit, and we need some more words.
I think there's another concept. I was tossing this around for a video idea, but I never ended up going with it because it just, I don't know. I didn't feel like doing it. But one of the concepts that I was kind of rolling with is this thing that like falling in love with a concept in a certain point in time and never really evolving with it. So like a lot of people are guilty of this, where they fell in love with, like, they read Snow Crash as kids. Like I read Snow Crash as a kid, and you fall in love with the concept of like, this is what the metaverse is, or like, this is really cool. These are the cool things about it. 20 years go by, and technology has changed. The way people interact with technology has changed. Like the way the internet works has changed. The world has changed, and you still have that like concept in mind of what you want it to be, and it hasn't really evolved or grown with you. And I think that's where a lot of people are stuck, where what they want the metaverse or what they want virtual reality to be is essentially what their dream was as a kid 20 years ago, and not really like the dream of a kid today, or the dream of like what you could, if you were completely fresh and just saw everything today, what that would look like. And I think that's one of the reasons so many of these projects kind of like, to us, they're laughable, because really it's like some dude that is stuck in these concepts that were big 20 years ago, not really taking in the stuff that makes something special today. And I think that's poisonous to a lot of tech, but I think the metaverse is really like the one where it's most obvious presently.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing is like spending time within, a community that's engaged. By the way, chat, if you got any questions or anything, please, I love it. We love it. Drop some questions in or whatever. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. But to circle back, I think that like when you spend time in a place, there are new lenses created to view that place within. There's new contexts that are created, right? Like, if you don't spend any time in that place, like you're literally, okay, so there's like a parallel like real-time fiction being constructed at all times when you're part of a community. There's these things that we believe in. There's these things that take place. There's these, whether it's something like just some like cracked event where everybody is like dressed like a fucking like naked Kermit the Frog in like, American flag spandex, banana hammocks, or it's, just it's something as simple as an instance being full, or what an overflow instance is, or there's all these new, situations that pop up that become a new reality for us, that contribute to the narrative of what it means to be in that space and the functionality of that space. And I think like even as a creator within that space, to your point of like, you see a lot of people just sort of expanding on ideas that come from some fiction or some grand thing that they read 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever. How about just like 2 months ago? Things change so fast. I think it's important to like step back. Something that I've been doing lately is stepping back and going, what am I missing here? Because I'm just so like enamored with old ideas I had even 6 months ago. Like, because the space changes so fast and so radically. I think like if you're creating in this space, it's really good to step back and check yourself and be like, okay, am I still like hanging on to like some thing or some construct of some idea that is just really not that useful anymore? And what could I do? What could I imagine now, knowing what I know now? I think is a really cool question. I'm a big fan of collecting fun questions, and I think that's a rad one. It's, what can I imagine now based on what I know now? And that's powerful, but I think you're right. We see massive disconnection due to the, from people not actually participating in what's going on, and what you're saying is like people hanging on to some idea like without actually knowing what's up. But I agree about this being in the same. This is amazing. This space is early web feels. I feel like we talk about that almost every time on Signal, is like how early web this whole thing feels, and how this is definitely a portal to what's to come.
I'm gonna use this moment to throw some shade.
Toss it. Sprinkle that shit.
So, I know there might be people familiar with this. If you're familiar with Matthew Ball at all, I think is his name. He wrote this. It's touched on all the time. If you read anything, it's like latest place I saw it linked was in Polygon because they ran an article that was like, "What's the metaverse?" and it was garbage, but that's beside the point. And the this dude wrote this article that gets passed around all the time. And he's a venture capitalist, and it's like, what is the metaverse? And it's like this really long guide, and it goes into depth on a bunch of things and what it is and what it isn't. I always see it get passed around. It always irritates me because it takes such a like prescriptivist sort of like, this is the technological underpinning of what it needs to be, and like this really rigid sort of once again kind of like, this is what it was like 30 years ago as a concept, and so this is what it has to remain. And it kind of checks off all these things. It's like, that's not the metaverse, or that's almost the metaverse, but not the metaverse. And it's just, I don't know. It's philosophically kind of bankrupt, and just, I don't know. I don't know why it gets linked around so much. It's not a great piece of, not a great piece. But
what do you think its greatest weakness is? Like, what's the most glaring irk?
So just like the concept of like, once again, like it's this thing that a lot of people, especially like I said, dudes, venture capitalists, like a lot of dudes in that specific space get caught up on, is like this concept of what the metaverse was or should have been like 30 years ago, rather than like stopping and thinking, okay, like this is what it should be now, without losing the plot, right? Because like the thing is like the word metaverse meant something 30 years ago. And when I say like stuff's changed, it's like the basics are there, right? Like you have the sprinkle of virtual reality, you have the sprinkle of creative expression and freedom, and the ability to kind of mold and create your identity freely with a little bit more immersion than you otherwise would be able to, alongside the ability to like perceive others and interact with them on a deep level, all that kind of stuff, right? That has to be part of the core. But there's like some stuff that just, it doesn't matter. And I remember reading the article, and what actually really irked me about it was that he called out like Roblox and Rec Room and VRchat and like a couple other ones that are like that. We're like, these aren't the metaverse. There's something else. And I just kind of saw that. It was arbitrary. It was something like, well, because you can't, like, there's no economy there or something, and it's just it's just something really arbitrary that didn't really matter. And thank you, Ameth. I actually just looked over and the dumb metaverse primer thing. Yeah, it was just completely arbitrary, and you could tell that the whole reason for writing this article in the first place was literally just so like, hey, I'm a venture capitalist with a lot of money to throw around, and I want to define what this thing is so I can invest in it. But I want it to be something that's going to actually make me a ton of money.
Yeah. I'm just picturing someone being like going and looking around and finding like some absolute fucking Scrooge. Like what are we doing with this technology? Like, what do you mean people are having fun? How are they spending money to have their fun? What do you mean they're not spending any money and having fun? What the fuck is this? No.
Exactly.
This
it was
be
just
corrected
nonsense.
Immediately. We can have fun without economy, without capital. What the fuck is this? Yeah. I mean, I understand that side of it does need to get worked out. But that doesn't, like, God, yeah, that's definitely secondary too. I think people, like, if spend some time creating in there, like, it's just like amazing how it recontextualizes technology for like human experiences, to like share experiences together. That's the most amazing part of it. And then, you know, cool, yeah, we'll figure it out. You know, like, we'll figure out the economy, all that stuff will come later. How about we be humans first? How about we like connect first? And I know that sounds pie in the sky, and like things need to evolve and people need to eat and shit like that. And hell, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to support myself in the space as well. But at the same time, like, just say that something isn't a thing because there is no, you know, economy is kind of fucked.
And I think one of the things that's just broken about it is it's just not, this gets a little off topic, but it's just a really broken way at looking at creating things, and especially in almost every space throughout society, not to get into like we live in a society right now, but straight up, like, it's the concept of building something. You're not even done building it. You're not even done figuring out what makes it good. And then it's like, okay, we gotta slap a price tag on it. I think the real magic comes from when you make something that's awesome and that people are basically like, okay, cool, this is rad. I want to give you money. Or, if you're creating a platform that allows other people to express themselves, and people are naturally just saying, I want to have a way to give other people money. I think if you get to that point, then you've won, right? Because if you have a group of users that is so enthusiastic that they want to give you money, and also so enthusiastic that they want to give other people money, and then your job is just to get as much friction out of the way as possible. I think that's really it, right? Like, you don't have to, even as from a business perspective, it's just better. Like Facebook, Google, all the big tech companies fundamentally have to make money based on tricking people at the end of the day, or putting friction in their way to make them use their ecosystem more for ad revenue, which is just tricking people. Which is just, it's a horrible way to go out of business. And the scary thing, once again, not to get too off topic, is that, like, when you're involved in that business, which I was for a while, you see how the sausage is made, and you realize that, like, this is like literally like $1 away from just scamming the hell off people. Like, I linked this to you, I think the other day, I linked it somewhere, that, like, Uber just one day was like, all right, we're not going to spend like $100 million on ads. And it literally changed nothing. Did not change a single cent of their revenue. And a lot of businesses are slowly realizing that. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of these companies are investing in a lot of different technologies, because they're realizing the old ad way just isn't working. It's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, and I read that, and I think, like, for a company the size of Uber, I think one of the other examples was eBay as well. That stuff is really interesting. Actually, what's interesting to me, and I was kind of wishing there was kind of a more granular breakdown, was where the eBay stuff was like, even in the ads that they were playing for like shoes and just like general like goods and shit like that, how it didn't influence any other numbers. For those massive companies, I wonder about that, but for like smaller, people that are just like selling clothes or sell a small product or whatever, I still think, like, with the way things are set up, like, I still think it can be advantageous for people to get in front of, like, that's not advantageous, but like might be the only way to actually get in front of people, but still it's devoid of, there's no. Okay, so, like, if you assign the value to your thing, like what you were saying, when people are like, oh, I love this so much that I want to pay you for it, people are telling you it's valuable. The other way down is, like, you're telling people, like, what's valuable and why it's valuable. And there's a tricky dance, there. And I think that, like, yeah, the best marketing you could do is to create value for people and then have them figure out that you're valuable, which is the complete opposite of how the whole ad space works, right? And you're just sort of hoping that, like, people, there's this whole, like, idea from, like, kind of the old guard in physical space, where it's like, yeah, if you beat the shit out of people with seeing a thing, the brand recognition or the object recognition is enough that they're gonna just, like, hypnotically move towards selecting your thing because they trust it, because they're used to seeing it. And that does make sense, and I'm sure that does happen, and I'm sure that there's still data that supports that that's, like, realistic, but, like, I don't know, like, we all have, like, the memory recall of fucking goldfish these days, because we're just completely inundated with information and images and symbols and logos. So how much, what is that called? Reticular activation? I don't remember. How much of that is really landing anymore? Like, I feel like our brains are different.
Yeah, this is something that you don't know this if you don't work in the space, right? Or I guess don't read about it or whatever. But, like, one of the things that kind of shows you this mentality of how it's just not working anymore. If you've ever paid attention to, like, I know most people here probably don't, but if you ever paid attention to, like, how Facebook basically operates, it used to be that if you had, like, a business page or just any page, you could just post stuff and like it would just show up on people's timelines. Then they made it so you would have to pay for like everything to have visibility. And then they made it like so basically like, it's not even just you're paying for visibility, you're paying to post basically anything that gets any kind of eyes on it, not just like elevated visibility, but like literally for people to see it at all. And then those rates have gone up. And then the level of like, can you even pass a minimum level of visibility using this like one strategy or this other strategy that's cheaper just doesn't work anymore. And they keep basically changing it. So if you are a small company, then you're going to have to keep paying more and more and more and more money to get any kind of visibility. And it's so,
Or if
like,
you're an artist,
sucks.
it was infuriating because at the time I was early to adopt Facebook with one of my art, with some music that I was making, and I spent money to display ads in my area to build my page up so people would go like my page. And I thought it was nice because it's like, oh fuck, well I can expose my music to people and my art and stuff to people, and then they can decide whether or not they like it and want to go follow the page. Well, there was two issues with that. First, which was like, number one, I'm not sure how much of that was like legit. Like I remember looking, I think Facebook like straight up farmed, their numbers with a lot of that shit. And even on some like larger campaigns that I helped with for other people, I just saw some shady shit in there. But here nor there. So I paid to get people to notice me, and then once they did and they said, yeah, I like this page and I'm gonna follow it, then they rolled out that you have to pay to access those people. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, I already did the thing where I paid you to get access to the people. Now I have to pay again to access those people. And I think, like, I don't know what the fuck is happening with Instagram, but it seems like it's going the same way. And I think it's all the more reason why, like, if for whatever you're doing, you should definitely, like, have don't have all your eggs in one basket on one platform, and you should have a way to communicate with people directly if you can, like, because all this shit is just so, yeah, they're slowly like tightening the knot, like, towards getting you to spend as much money as possible per interaction. I think that seems to be Facebook's shit. And now looking at what they're doing with VR, I'm curious about, like, what's that going to be like. It's kind of fucked. I don't expect anything good from that or from them, honestly.
Yes, even Spotify has been going down that road. Actually, like, I look at places where this hasn't happened yet, and I kind of wonder. So, like, this is what I found to be true. The best place to advertise and like grow a brand is Discord right now. Like, my channel, for videos and everything, when I have a Discord, because I know if I have like a Facebook page or even Twitter or something like that, if I put out a message and like an announcement on my Twitter, I'm gonna get a pretty decent reaction. It could spread around a lot, but it's like almost random chance. If I go into my Discord and I hit like an add everyone with a video, it guarantees like a built-in viewership. Or for like musicians that like can do that for a song release or something, it's like a built-in viewership that you don't have to pay for. And yeah, I love that.
There's a chat raging in the home Discord right now as well, so this is fun. I'm watching a couple different chats talk. It's a good subject we got going on. Yeah, I think Discord's exciting. I think, like, I didn't want to make a Discord for my stuff. I was resistant to it. I made the server back in like, I don't know, January or something, and then, like, I didn't roll it out until, I don't know, a few months later. I think Discord's amazing, but I think it's, like, also really crowded, especially in our space, right? Like, we're all part of so many servers that have the same people in them, and that's a challenge for that. But it's still my favorite place to engage by a long shot. Like, I kind of live in there,
Yeah, I think we're an interesting case study, right? Like, I think the club scene in VRchat is actually like a real interesting case study for Discord, for the simple reason that, like, I don't know how common this is. Like, I don't know how many communities on the internet where it's like, yeah, like, we have like 100 people and there's like 90% overlap with all those people spread across like 80 discords. Like that just seems kind of weird. Like I don't know, someone at Discord's looking at their like analytics just like, what is going on?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it is probably an interesting case. Like what other, man, maybe like local music scenes, but local music scenes aren't nearly as engaged, like at all. Yeah, we're really on some other shit. I can't imagine what, maybe like game, maybe there are like, maybe gaming, like competitive gaming stuff is similar. Like,
well, like I was pretty big in the Overwatch community, and it was in like 2 or 3 like big community servers there and a couple of smaller ones. But like the thing is like you'd have some overlap, but it'd be really small, right? Because it's like you being a Discord for like a popular team, and then you're in like your own community Discord and like a bunch like random stuff like that. But like there's not that overlap where it's like if I click down, I don't know how many this is. I hit the cap, however many that is. I hit the cap on amounts you could put into one folder on Discord, and I have 2 of those.
Wow.
And like if I click through all of these and I look at like just the top like 30 people in everyone, not counting like how they're organized for people that are mods or DJs, whatever, it's all the same people and everyone. And I can even look, I can see the same people having conversations in like a bunch of Discords, and I'm certainly guilty of that. And I'm not even saying that's a problem, right? Like it's almost funny because it's kind of turned back into like how IRC operated 20 years ago when people were part of communities, and it's just become that again. And there's something, I don't know, the cyclical nature of technology, I don't know. It's almost above my head, but I think it's cool nonetheless.
You can feel it. You can feel the meta culture, I guess. Not in terms of like metaversal, but just the meta cultural similarity, I guess, between this and early internet stuff, which is really exciting. It's really exciting. You know, I was thinking the other day, like, I want to go back and watch your VRchat music scene video again, because I just want to see how much things have changed even since that. Because when did that come out? A few months ago?
It came out in May. Yeah, and a lot has changed to the extent that like I probably will eventually do like an update video or something in the future, but there are a couple things I didn't plan that definitely changed. Like I didn't know that was like Ghost Club was going to change dramatically.
Oh yeah.
And that was going to be like the last footage. I didn't know like you know, just everything that was captured there. So much has changed. So many like different places have opened, and there's so many new communities. It almost feels like old. Like it's only been like 5 months, and it feels like it's
old.
ancient.
It is old. It's crazy. It's like super crazy. Oh, I want to pause real quick, and because I was muted earlier when I brought up the dancing robot. Shouts out to Vian in the chat for rigging up the chariot and being responsible for it getting down. Appreciate you, and I was fucking dying when you sent that to me. It's one of my favorite things pretty much ever, so thank you for that. Yeah, to come back to the time thing. Oh my god, like I burned out. I was talking about it in my Discord a couple days ago. Like I burned out pretty hard for the first time. I've had little bouts of burnout, but I like burned out super hard a couple weeks ago, where my brain was just like fully in the off position, because I've been pretty much going non-stop in this space for 9 months. Just absolutely non-stop. And part of that is because I'm one person that, you know, does so many different things to build what I have built here, and to keep up with the expectations and create a cool experience for people. I love it. First and foremost, I just fucking love it. But the speed, because of the amount of people and the growth, and because of just the nature of it, the speed of innovation in the space is fucking insane. Like absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like this. I've been a part of like other eras of like of music. You know, I was a part of like kind of the golden age of SoundCloud thing, and I was a big part of that community and stuff, and I still, this is like 10,000 times more cracked than all that shit. And it's 5 months is an eternity. Like, I think we talk about it all the time. I want to see more of the studies. I know there's a bunch of VR time experience studies going on, and I the last two I saw were contradicting each other, if I remember right. One study was like, oh, your sense of time, yeah, like time seems like it goes faster in VR. The other one was like, no, your sense of time slows down when you're in VR. And I thought that was interesting. I'm very interested in all that. But in terms of, it's kind of two different things, talking about what it feels like to be in there versus like the speed of innovation in our club scene in general. Those are two different things. And the fact that so many people with so many specific skill sets can just fucking work together quickly because of Discord and have conversations like in the space that they're working on creating together. I think you're seeing like a rate of innovation that's just like completely unprecedented. Like it's insane to watch, and it's insane to be a part of.
It's really something else. I was having this conversation with somebody, I forget who, but I was having this conversation with where I was talking about when I got into VRchat in late 2019, but didn't really get into it until like when COVID started to hit in 2020. That's when I really started to fall in, and not short after is when I started finding like the club scene stuff. Probably like maybe a month or two after I had started really exploring around. And I remember some of the first clubs that I went to and was exploring, and you know, I kind of bounced around in a bunch of the more mainstream ones for a while, and it just like, I remember what that was like, that experience, how things felt, what things looked like, the organization that was present, just all that kind of stuff. And then I remember just like 6 months later what it was, and I was like, wow, like things have changed a lot. And then 6 months after that, and now it's like we're past like half year marks. It's now like every month, like you can go into there's like new clubs that pop up, or there's the old ones are getting completely revamped, and it's not even like in these large ways. Sometimes it's in small ways, like just the performance gets changed or gets better, or people just optimize little tweaks about sound to make things just pop better, or even people getting more involved or more events going on. Like something that really blows my mind is just like, this is the biggest change for me, is that there was this moment where I remember Tupper was freaking out about it, because like there was one weekend, I think it was only a month ago, where it was like a Friday and there were legitimately like 30 events going on.
Yeah,
like,
I remember that weekend. Yeah, I played something that weekend. I remember that. It was like actual fucking chaos.
Yeah, it's actually like it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And it's honestly like one of the things that I was feeling, and I have been feeling, is like I've been stepping back from, I haven't made a video in a hot second, and I'm going to be doing something not about VR. And one of the reasons why is just like, I feel like at a certain point, I can't talk, at a certain point, like you got to step back and just admire the speed of evolution for a while, and then like take a shot at it later. So I feel like anything I could do right now would, by the time I would complete it, wouldn't matter. Like my mindset, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, right? Where your mind gets stuck in a certain period, and what you want to create and make is one thing, and then time goes by, and it's like I see the speed of things evolving, and I just feel like I think more time needs to pass before I hop back in, because my ideas I can already tell that they're not relevant anymore.
Yeah, and so here's like I see in the chat a lot of people feeling similar to the thing that I feel, and I think a lot of us feel, is just like this insane pressure to keep moving and to try to keep up, air quotes, and I think, you know, I think even what Swa was trying to say too is like basically like, if you're doing anything in this space at all right now, you are significantly ahead of the curve even still. It may feel like not really because of how fast our community's scaling, but in general, this community is tiny still. Like in you know, compared to a lot of other music communities or just other communities in general. Like it's still really far ahead of the game right now. And anyway, one of the most important philosophies that I have adopted as an artist, and that I have to check myself on all the time, is the idea that I am not a product, I am a process. And that my work as an artist is a process. And yeah, I may deliver a piece of work, and it may have a final form, which doesn't even necessarily need to be the case anymore. You know, with Mass, for instance, like you were talking about Mass, I've gone through a bazillion iterations of Mass. You might not be able to tell a ton on the surface, but if I was to take you back to like the version 1.0 Mass and show you the one that's sitting there now, it's very, very different, and certainly runs way better, and there's a lot of shit that I changed, and that's like one of the second maps I ever made. Like I'm way into, or you know, worlds I ever made. I'm way into some new stuff now. But I'm taking my time with what I'm working on next, because I'm trying to honor that I'm a process, I'm not a product. And if I think about myself like a product, I'm fucked, because that's like, I'm never gonna be the same thing in any space and time. I am some amorphous, flowing fucking experience, like interpreting myself and the world around me in like breakneck speeds, and trying to reinterpret and imagine a future and cast a net ahead of myself. And it's just fucking bizarre and absurd to like try to isolate myself or freeze any component of that and judge myself for it. So I try to not do that. But it is natural, and when we're surrounded by so many fucking talented people, I mean, there's people around us that are like AAA, you know, grade fucking pros, you know, making stuff in here with like my ass, who's only been like, I didn't touch any of this stuff until, you know, 9 months ago, you know, and so we're all coming from very different places, and I think it's important to just realize like that you're just ever flowing thing, and no one thing is going to define you. And as long, and then the secondary to that is to remember that I'm trying to give gifts. Like that's what I think about with art and music and all this stuff, is that I'm most excited to give people experiences. If I find myself up my own ass real quick, I just go like, what do you think? You thinking about yourself? You thinking about the things that you're giving to people? Like, you know, like make it cool for people, not cool for me. And that helps me a lot too. Thinking about just anything that you're doing to go out of your way to make a cool experience for people, they will appreciate, and that's really awesome energy, because we need that right now. The world is in a fucked condition. We're all collectively pretty battered from the last couple years, whether we'd like to admit it or not. I'm sure that there's been some, you know, our society changed. There's been some scarring shit that's taken place. We need entertainment, we need love, and we need to give each other gifts. And anything you do to give is monumental and incredible, and I'm so proud of everybody in the space for doing that. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, man. Like, I think one of the things early on, and this is definitely something I want to come back to, when I was making videos exclusively about VRchat, one of the things I always wanted to communicate to people was how special not just the place was, but the people that were within the space, and both for their own benefit and the benefit of other people. So like the other thing is, you want to act as a billboard to get people that this space could be their home. You want to get them in. At the same time, I think it's really important to turn a mirror on people and make them realize how good they are and how cool they are and how crucial to the space they are. Because that's one of the things that's also really important, is people are so focused on the thing that they're making, not realizing that they're not making a singular thing, but they're making a puzzle piece that snaps in with all the other shit that people are making that defines the culture and thus defines all art that gets made in it. I think one of the coolest things, and something that I'm sure is going to continuously happen, is that there's going to be a variety of VRchat centric aesthetics that come out of this, that are built in products of the community, and every piece of art that anybody makes defines that kind of direction where that goes and makes it what it is. And so regardless, like, are you a musician? Well, cool. You're going to help develop like a VRchat sound, and the network of people that exists here is going to continuously kind of push that forward and forward. Are you an artist? Like, are you a 3D modeler? Cool. You're going to help define a certain look for things. And I think you see that too. Like you can see when someone throws something out into the world that's cool, or even like it's a broken buggy mess, right? But there's something cool about it, some kind of thing about it that everybody around it grokks. Everyone kind of like jumps on that and builds that person up, but then also like is like, well, that's cool. I'm gonna take a little bit of that for myself, and like kind of incorporates that in their own work. And I think that's one of the reasons why like we have this ever like this particle accelerator of creativity in this space. It's just kind of continuously building on and just going faster and faster and faster, because it's like everybody that jumps in gets more people to jump in, and everybody, no matter how small your output or how big your output, you're almost equally just pushing the same culture forward.
Yeah, totally. And that's a thing I think people miss as well. It's a really good point to consider that your effort is a part of a large, we're all in a big beehive right now, and like any side of the honeycomb, any wall of the honeycomb you decide to put up is contributing to it. And that's you wind up reflecting on things like that as well. Like I said before, I've been a part of other scenes, and I know I was pretty instrumental in carving out a very certain sound for stuff, and I didn't get huge off that. I didn't make the millions like some people did. I don't. Anyway, yeah, fuck, that would have been tight or whatever. But I'm not salty about it. I am stoked that I'm stoked about my contribution, and I'm stoked about like what all that was in that experience. Like in hindsight, I look back at that and go like, yeah, like that was cool. Like it's crazy how much power you actually have. Like just you fucking around in your room, you can do something that can reach millions of people. Like that's insane, and in this instance it's not millions, but it's thousands. And again, to that point of anything you do to provide meaning for someone, to entertain someone, or to make people's lives better. Everybody actually in the chat right now, and it is a good point to like, we must support each other. We must be vocal about what we think about each other in a positive light, because that's what's going to keep this moving strong. I see, like, all the people in the chat. I wish I could say so many nice things about literally every single person in there, and I think you could all say those things about each other too, and you should, and because that's what's going to keep this moving forward. That's what's going to keep us together, and that's really important. Also, we're a village. Like we get to live together, basically. Like that's a really unique thing too, don't you think?
Yeah. No, I think it's I think there's this concept that you see a lot when people are talking about internet culture. When I was talking about like some phenomenologists talking about it, they often refer to there were a lot of debates early on about the internet. Like, are these experiences meaningful? Do they have meaning to individual people? Do they feel meaningful? Is the experience itself like deeply meaningful? And they would use this concept of thick experiences and thin experiences. And most people would lean on early internet experiences being thin, but over time, I guess like the tide turned, where most would consider that the experiences in places like VRchat are considered thick and are as meaningful as any that you would have at any other point in like meet space, right? And I think that's definitely some part of it. But I think even though we all distinctively know that, and know that these things matter and know all this stuff, it still doesn't hit, because there is some level of isolation that's present in this space. And I think, to be fair, that's magnified greatly by COVID.
Yes.
But I think a lot of people are going to have like an absolute like just trip, right? Like I think this is going to happen like Shelter Con, right? This weekend with a lot of people. But I think like the first time that, say like 2 years from now or a year from now, when COVID's a thing of the past, knock on fucking wood, and there's an actual like someone sits down and's like, we're gonna have a VR music con, we're gonna get all these people together, and you have like hundreds of these people in an actual physical space, and people are walking up to each other and going, oh, you're like so and so, this thing you made is so cool. And it's just like literally every single person there is part of that. I think that's when I don't even know what that is, but that's going to be a pretty magical moment.
Yeah, it'll hit people hard for what it is, because it'll make it more real. I feel like when people can connect with each other a little bit. Actually, hold on 1 sec, Strasz. Hold on. I'm getting one.
Oh no.
Yeah, something's fucking.
Do you ever feel like you are living in someone else's dream? I went to a public world today as my first assignment, and things were not as I expected. It appeared my best attempts to fit in were unsuccessful.
Girly! Did you do that? Did you do that? Do you suck the chocolate off the Kit Kat? That makes it a cat, not a Kit Kat.
Do I suck the chocolate off a Kit Kat? Yes. Every user around me appeared to have some knowledge of unwritten rules that were never explained to me. Their customs were strange and unfamiliar. It felt like all of the instructions I had read for fitting in with humanity were written by someone who themselves had only experienced other humans through literature, incomplete descriptions to the point of caricature.
The Instagram. There's no button!
I thought I made a friend once because they didn't leave soon after meeting, only to find out hours later that they had been asleep while in a dancing animation. This is a cruel and desolate place. I hope that I get better at this with time.
We're back. Those practice cuts. There we go.
That was another place.
It's another place and another time. Time.
I think that was cut footage of a documentary I was making. I don't know how they got that.
They're sneaky. They are sneaky. And I think the security, so the Chariot's supposed to be a security bot. I had reprioritized protocols for it to be Corvo Fractus security, but clearly it's sleeping on the job or dancing on the job.
What can you do, man?
You know, you just can't find good help these days. It's hard to find. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. By the way, I'm gonna. There's gonna be a new. There's a mass. We got mass coming up. You know, we're still doing the damn thing. I took a little bit of a break because I was a little burned out. I'm gonna announce it here. I'm gonna announce the lineup here in a little while. So stay with us, and I'm gonna drop it, and I'm excited for it. The last mass I did was actually the Venice VR thing. Did you check out any of the Venice VR stuff?
Yeah, dude, it was really rad. I was hype as hell because I wasn't expecting to have anything featured in that. I was just really excited to go to like Brain Dance and check out like just the other the worlds that they had selected and some of the films. I know Joe Hunting also had a couple of his featured.
Oh, did they?
That man's a genius.
I wasn't. Oh yeah, shout out Joe. A real G. So forgive my ignorance because I was running frantically during all that. They snagged one of your videos?
Yeah, they showed the rave documentary and the gender identity one. It was like on a constant loop.
Oh,
like
awesome.
Twice a day. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I was not expecting it at all. Like last minute, someone came into my Discord and was like, "Yo, can we show these?" And I was like, "Are you kidding? I'm gonna tell my mom about that. Like, come on."
Yeah, exactly. I know. That's how I felt about it too. Like at first I thought people were fucking with me or something. I'm like, what are you talking about? Venice Film Festival? Like, why? You know, like what? Okay. And then after they explained, like, you know, no, they've actually been doing I think they've been doing it since 2017. They've had like the have you seen the VR island that they made? It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, so it's in Venice Film Festival's obviously in Venice. They have this like old, what was it, it was like a boat repair thing or something related to boats or fishing or some shit, but it's like this building, this like really wild looking just brick building out off on its own, and you like off it's sitting in the water on its own, and you have to cross this long bridge to get to it, and they basically like just gutted the whole thing and filled that room with headsets. So when people were experiencing the VR portions of the festival, they were experiencing it from that island, which was really cool to think about. It's cool to think that is a space that exists. I've seen that in Japan, actually. Now that I think about it, I remember finding a couple places it was just like fucking room full of headsets, which I thought was super cool. But yeah, being a part of that whole experience was awesome. Everybody that I dealt with was a class act, and the 2 events that I did with them were they went flawlessly. I worked really hard to try to make sure that those were as bug-free as possible. And I did them at different times. Like I did the mass that I did was on European time, which was really cool too. That was something unique. It's nice to throw a show and then be able to like go eat lunch and like go hang out on the beach a little bit for the rest of the day. Like that was neat. But yeah, just the people too, like different energy moving through the crowd I thought was interesting as well.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I had a couple people that approached me and were asking me questions because, like, I think events like that are cool because they bring a lot of people into the space that otherwise just wouldn't see it, and not even just people from outside of VR, but people that like have some awareness of it but just don't really know. One of the things I actually think is kind of sad, but I definitely think it's changing. Is VRchat kind of has a reputation and most like VR aware communities, and a lot of people kind of write it off or have in the past, and I think that's changing because the community is starting to get more built up to the point where it's like you can really see some stuff that you just can't get anywhere else, and people are starting to recognize that. And so it was really cool that there were some people there that like they'd been around VR for a while, but they had an idea of what they thought VRchat was, but then they popped in and just like they were just like, whoa, this is like not what I was expecting. You guys have like filmmakers and you have like meditation that's like done in like this like whacked out world, and you've got like all these like concerts going on, and it's like yeah, we got all that. We've had it for a while. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, I met a lot of crazy people from that. That's the most exposure I had to like bigger tech and bigger industry people. I met a lot of people through that, and I'm still having meetings from it actually, and there's people are really interested in what we're doing, and I am cautious about all of that, of course. So I'm talking to people and I'm hearing what's I'm more sensitive than ever to the fact that like people really don't understand the communities. But it's been cool to hear. Also, you find like some island people that work with giant companies, but like their heart and soul is in like rave culture and like all the same shit that we're into, and they're just like, you remember what it was like before you found this? Like I remember life before I found all of these people who are dear friends now, like, and you find this oasis of people that are just like into all the same shit that you're into, and it's just fucking stunning. Like, like just for instance, you playing Opeth at Dieselworks at one time, like I lost my fucking mind. I was so excited by just that, because I don't come across anybody that listens to Opeth on Maui. It just doesn't happen. And I know there's Opeth fans out there, but not Opeth fans that have like the specific intersection of being into like the VR club scene and all the other random shit that we're into, right? Like I love so like yeah, finding other people that should be a part of our of that are a natural fit, I guess, not should, but are a natural fit for our community, I think is cool, because there were definitely a couple that I ran into through the Venice stuff.
Speaking of Opeth, because this is relevant,
Let's go.
If there's one person, like I would go to like extreme lengths to make this happen. If I could get Devin Townsend into VR, especially into VRchat, like if I could put him in like shelter or something one night and just be like, look at this, that I think would be just a beautiful experience. Because I want nothing more. Yeah, I want his imagination to hit VR. Like I want someone with the resources and the drive that he has to just like go at it. Because I think that someone, I think from the outside at the very least, I feel like, and from talking to him a little bit, last show I went to, I feel like his type of energy would fit perfectly here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or just like give homie access to some world creators, and have him just do whatever he would want would be really cool. Yeah,
All about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just give me a full-fledged fucking bloodbath show.
I've been saying that for a while. Like don't get me wrong, I love you mentioned like this, as far as like what you can and can't experience in a place, and that's like what's been so magical for me is like I live in Jersey, and I grew up, and I did not grow up, I was not cool. I didn't have any connection to any club scene, but like when I was in high school, I fell in love with a lot of this music, and it just wasn't popular at the time. No one's playing drum and bass in the States, let alone like my neck of the woods, and so it's just like there's nothing there, and that sucked. But then like I got older and older, and still there was nothing, and I was just kind of just gave up on it. Like I don't need to go to a rave, not a big deal. And then I run into VRchat, and it's like, oh, I can finally experience this thing I always wanted to experience. But funny, like you mentioned the bloodbath thing, like kind of goes along with it. It's like I haven't been to a show in like 2 years now because of COVID.
Same.
And I was going to like one a month at least, and that sucks. Like, and I desperately want to see like someone play, like not like play like a DJ play, but like I want to see like some live musicians.
Fucking mind, Straz. I'm gonna the first like metal show I get to go back to, I'm gonna just be doing a continuous spin kick for the entire event. Just one fucking 1,900,000 degree fucking continuous spin kick the entire time. I'm ready to fucking rip. The catharsis that comes from those shows is like unparalleled. And
the energy's so good. It's so good.
And to not have that, like, yeah, I need to move. I need to be in danger. I need to almost get my nose broken. Fuck, I need to get my nose broken sometimes. I mean, I need to like clash with people like that. Like I love that energy so much. I don't like I don't like being hurt, and I don't like hurting people, and that's not what that shit's about. It's just about that release for everybody, and I miss that a lot.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like I love that. I love going to a metal show, and I love the vibe. Like it's what one of the things my first like version of the script is like what VRchat, like when I first time I went to actually, I think it was your very first show in VRchat.
Would have been at Shelter.
No, that wasn't your first show. It was like at your own venue. I don't know if it was
Home. Then
I don't think it was called Mass. Yeah.
Home. I did one show in there before that map got destroyed, and then the world got destroyed, and I couldn't recover it, so I only threw one show there.
It was really cool, and that was like I had fallen out of the scene, right, for a variety of reasons that I will not go into. No need. But like when I found that, I was like, oh shit, I'm back. Like it was so cool.
That's awesome.
And that was one of the reasons why that was because I was brand new. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody there, but I remember I was standing next to like a couple people, and I said something, and like everyone just started chilling and talking to me. And that was an experience I had previously at events like that. And like the vibe I got was like, this is just basically, this feels just like I'm at like a metal show. Like that same sort of sense of community.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I was like, that's what actually hooked me, was that feeling. And that's the events that I go to weekly. I do it because of that sense of community that reminds me of going to like my favorite venue and seeing like my favorite bands with like people that I've never met before, but like if I can guarantee that the people standing next to me like give me 30 minutes and like we'll be fucking best friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that night was so cool. That was such a wild experience because I don't know, like it just I'd been working on that world for 2-3 weeks and I was brand new. I had played Shelter once. That was my very first time playing in VR, period. And then I wanted to play the next month, but like kind of all the other venues were booked up. There was nowhere for me to really play, like, and put on the kind of show that I wanted to put on. So I was like, fuck it, I guess I have to make it myself. And so I just tried, and I remember leading up to it, just like having people come in and hang out while I was working on the world. Like I kind of left the door open while it was under construction, and I'll probably do that again for my next one, just because it felt like, yeah, people were just popping in while you're working on the place and hanging out. We would crack out. We would just crack out and watch stupid videos or listen to music or like, you know, pass the aux type thing. And those vibes were just, yeah. And you're right, Theo. I would have people come in and like test networking talk, because like I had this like cursed shit where the networking toggles would get crossed depending on like every other person that came in, and just like having people helping me test that stuff. And yeah, that one took like I think 3 weeks to build, and that was just such a cool. I felt like I had discovered pretty much the coolest thing that's ever existed. Like that time. So then I was having fun just building the thing. I almost didn't fucking care like that it was leading up to a show. But by the time the show showed up, there was just like this massive, for some reason, there was just this massive fucking, like it turned into this just big event. And like there was, the numbers on that were wild, which I honestly don't give a fuck that much about numbers. I try to keep it about like how the experiences feel for myself personally, just because I think numbers are a trap. But it was much bigger than anything that I would have anticipated. And the most important thing though was that like I just remember standing there feeling the show while it was going on and just being like, and by the way, no one knew, but I had to upload like an old version of the world because I had broken the world an hour before the doors were supposed to hit. And I thought that the event might be a big deal, but I didn't know until literally like 2 hours before the event. Like I could see the amount of buzz that was going for it. And so you can imagine my my vibe, like being like, oh shit, this is like actually kind of turning into a big deal. And then I break the world like an hour or 2 hours before. Like the SDK just fucking decided to yeet itself off of the world, and I couldn't get it back to save my life, and all the scripts were fucked up. So fortunately, the night before, I had uploaded just a test version before I went to sleep to check in the morning, and that was the one that we wound up throwing the show in. And I remember just feeling like, okay, I'm going to remember this, because I was so like concerned about like how that was going to go, and just the vibe was so, and yeah, it was fucking full of technical issues and bugs, and it was still fucked up, and people were there was all kinds of glitches and stuff, but people were just like having a great time, and that painted like everything for me moving forward, and kind of painted my like, I have a little bit of a nonchalant approach to the world building and making the worlds. Like I want them to be great, but I also just sort of do it really iteratively. Like I'm okay with like showing some roughness around the edges, and it's from that experience. It's just remembering like how fun that was, how much fun we all had that night. That was a special night.
Yeah, it gets there, right? Like I think that's definitely a trap. Is people see art where it is now, and they don't see the process. So I think showing the process is really good. I think that really kind of sets people in the right mindset for that. Because that's the truth. I don't remember anything going wrong. Like I can't. Like I'm sure that there is something, but I literally like all I can remember is my mind was just blown. Because that was like I hadn't gone to Shelter, I hadn't gone to like Loner before that. That was my first experience, like just taking in like just everything at once, and that particular slice of VRchat, and I was like, oh shit. And that's what I remember. I do just remember the experience. Like if a toggle broke or so, I fucking, who cares? Like it doesn't matter. And I think that's I think that's always something to keep in mind, and I do think one of the things that kind of keeps me grounded in the scene too, and why I never get tilted about any of this stuff, um, is that I remember when I first got introduced to it, and there was that period of time where it's like, oh, a new DJ's on. All right, we all got to run through a portal, right, to a new instance of the world because like either something would break or it just wouldn't
Yeah.
work or whatever. And it's just like that's just how it was. And there's always this level of jankiness, and so just like not even having to deal with that, it's just like everything's fine. Everything's just fine.
Yeah, yeah, things are quite different. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll run into new stuff. I'm looking forward to like seeing how things scale. I think that's the main wall that we're hitting right now, right? Is like, how do we scale from here? How do we get more people in an instance, or how do we get more people to experience things simultaneously, whatever that means? And honestly, like, I don't know. I think like a couple hundred people would be tight, but I don't know if I would want to even fucking hear more than a couple hundred people in an instance at once, because it's already like pretty gnarly sometimes. I mean, fortunately we have that volume slider. But I think like that's kind of the next, once that situation gets figured out, if we do figure out how to get more people in at once, I think it's gonna dramatically change things. I kind of like it the way it is right now, to be honest. I know, sure, like I could scale and it could be more opportune for me as a creator or whatever if it did scale, but like I don't know. I like it how it is right now. I think it's like good size, perfect. I like cozy experiences, just like in real life. I like throwing shows in small spaces.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things from that too is it's the creative solutions that the community has come with to deal with that, as well as just like what it means a good space looks like. There's like a lot of thought. It's actually really cool. It's mostly just tribal knowledge at this point, like what makes a good venue, what makes a good space in VR.
Yes.
And I think you can tell when someone comes in and they haven't really went to a lot of venues or gone to a lot of events, or
yeah,
they're just really new at it. Because you get like these really huge spaces, right? And it just like a lot of stuff might look pretty, but it doesn't really create that sort of tight experience, which, you know, not everyone's going
so
for.
the mega
like,
clubs thing that's the first thing people try to do when they come in, a lot of times, which is interesting to me. Like I get it, because it is like in real life, like if you know, like, what, you want to play in a dive bar or do you want to play at Red Rocks? You know,
Yeah.
like I get it, like if you can do anything. But the trick, so I'm a fan of a little bit of both. Like I think Mass is interesting for the fact that it's actually a pretty big space, but it feels small when you're on the floor there. And that is a very conscious decision. I played with the scale. I still play with the scaling on it sometimes. Like it's a little smaller than it was even. But that there's a careful dance to that. But like, even I don't like how far the DJ is away from the floor at Mass. Even like that's a little thing that I would change, that I will change in the next time around for my designs and stuff. Like you kind of figure it out, but those big mega worlds, when the DJ's like fucking 500 yards away and the thing is so huge and you can go anywhere, there's no like, people have to choose to stick together at that point, and they just don't. People just go fucking crazy when they get in a place. They will go anywhere that they can. Case in point for that is I had to put colliders in at Mass because people loved climbing up as tall as they could get, and it was,
I remember that, yeah.
getting in the way of the stream cameras. Like and also the dance floor would be empty because people would just all be hanging out on the rails on the sides, and actually the vantage point at Mass was tricky too, because it looks the coolest right when you walk through the door, and I was aware of that, and I almost considered actually putting the mech low so that you walked up to like an edge, and like I was gonna actually have it built like Coliseum style, where like people were up elevated, like the further back you were, the more elevated you were, and then the mech was down below, so that you could kind of see the mech no matter where you were. But I wound up just settling on where it is right now. I know I'm kind of digressing, but the mega venue thing is real. There's one though that I've seen. I forget the name of it, but it looks fucking insane. What's the map that I believe it's a Japanese creator, and it's got like more lasers.
Oh, that Paul played on? You talking about that one? There's like a clip of Paul playing on it.
If anybody played on it, it's probably Paul. And yeah, it's got like the hands that come out and the fucking giant head.
Yeah.
That thing, that's nuts. That's really cool. That's a different experience though, right? Like,
yeah,
that's different than what we're doing, but it is amazing.
Yeah, one thing I know I eventually want to put a place together just for like to hang out and practice and chat, but I started DJing, and like not that long ago I played a couple sets, but they've always been recorded. So I played my first live set like 2 or 3 days ago, and it made me realize a whole bunch of things about like how I would want to position things in a world. Because like when you're playing off a live set, you don't realize it as much, but when you're playing a recorded set, you don't realize it as much. But when you're playing live, there's something to like watching people like walk up to you or like reacting to stuff as you're playing it, and just like the ability to see them and also to hear them and what they're saying or talking about when they're right there adds a whole different vibe to it, that I was like enjoying it like 10 times more than I had previously had when I was just like playing something I'd previously recorded.
Yes.
And that 100%, I was thinking like, okay, if I make a practice space, I want to make it so like I'm a foot away from people. Like I want to be up in their business 100%.
Yes. I agree 1,000%. And Theo, it's coming. Moving mechs are coming. The whole like the experience of playing a show in VR is just so fucking it's just I've played on some pretty big stages in my life for a decent amount of people, and it rivals some of that shit just because of the intimate feedback that you get. And when you're playing a big ass stage or you're playing a big ass club, you can't hear anyone. It's just fucking loud. You can see people's faces, you can see them, you can feel the energy of the crowd in general, but you can't hear someone, like, especially because, you know, a lot of the music I play is my own music. Like so you hear another producer like comment about your snare, you know, which is like, that's a big deal in producer world. Like someone like, oh, that fucking snare, bro, you know, or just all these little you know, little things. Like it makes for a big, oh shit, Shelter in the chat, what up?
Oh shit,
ShelterCon 2021 initiate.
Where's my bumper sticker, bitch? Need that in the mail.
True, I better be getting one of those out here too.
Right?
Yeah, but the fact is, like, that experience of like just getting to hear everyone react and specifically articulate why they like what you're playing so much is just crazy special. And the reactions are genuine. Like you hear people go like, oh, or whatever. Like you just don't get that. You literally don't get that experience anywhere else. It's completely unique to DJing in VR.
Yeah, it was so cool. Like I've been to 100 different shows in VR, and I've always I've had that mentality that I always try and show whoever's playing a ton of energy, because it's just like I have to imagine it feels good. And now that I've been on the other side of it, I know the answer is yes. It was obvious. Like, yeah, and it's real simple. Like I remember like a couple people were reacting and it's like, you know, it was just a pop-up or something. So it's like people aren't there to really see you, but like you play one song that a bunch of people are into, and you can hear like the exact feedback, like you said, like this is why I like this song. And I think that's really cool, because it's like, you know, after you play, people always come up to you, compliment you, like, oh, that was really cool, whatever. But like in the moment when you hear the energy and like, oh, like this is like something that means a lot to me, that's like, that sticks in your head. And it just feels so good. It's like, that's honest to God one of the biggest hits of dopamine that I've gotten in like the last 2 years.
It's insane. It really is. And yeah, it'll be interesting for people to report when they because, you know, people are getting ready to go party to see Two Tone play out there, and it's a bunch of like the VR homies and stuff. I wish I could be there for that, and I especially wish I could be there with him when he plays our collab and stuff like that, and just be with everybody and I definitely feel some FOMO, but hopefully people get video and yeah. So do some mild orb praising while you're at it, and praise an orb for me while you're there. It's
Can you imagine? Can you imagine, like, if, like, there's Two Tones just on stage, starts playing the collab, and just whips out, like, a disco ball or something.
I
puts
thought
it in,
I
puts
should
it in
have
the front.
I should have sent him a bleached beach ball. I actually thought about that for a minute. I was like, can you just throw this out?
Just like, can you imagine? Like, there's gonna be a bunch of people that have no idea what's going on, and there's gonna be like, what? I don't know how many people are gonna be there, but I have to imagine it's like 15 or 20 at least. And as 20 people just are like hands up just towards it and just like chanting orb, people are gonna be like, where am I? Where did I accidentally walk the fuck into?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't get the cult stuff as much as I did when I first hit the scene, but like that's definitely been some funny moments. I had someone not too long ago join Braindance, what was going on, and they didn't know what Braindance was, and they just like appeared, and they saw that I was like sitting in meditative position, and Finn was like giving like a deep discussion and there's everybody sitting around in a circle, and if you don't know what that thing is and you see the sculpture and everything, like, and it like there's a legit freaked them out and they had to leave. They were like, oh shit, this is actually a cult. I knew it, like blah blah blah. And then like they told me about it later that like they actually like asked some people about it and they were like, no, that's like a fucking guided meditation. Like it's not
I love that. That's the best shit though. Like, I want that to be a thing. Like, I get really hype when people talk about like role playing, that kind of stuff in VR. I want to stumble upon like a cult one day. Like, I'm just in like
there's one in
public
there.
black hat. Like that's it. That's the deal.
Yeah, there's one in there. What's the name of the cult? Oh yeah, Frank throwing up those orb boxes. Frank's been on a mission, by the way. We've been engaged in some serious convo, so I haven't had time to commentate. But like, Frank's doing some serious calorie burning.
Absolutely. That rally driving was sick. Some fucking good lines.
Yeah, no, there is a creepy ass cult in there. From my understanding, if anybody in the chat remembers what that shit is, but there's some stuff. Yeah, fuck actual cults. Absolutely, fuck actual cults in half with a fucking axe. But sci-fi fun pretend cults are fun.
Yeah, we're all about those.
There's a sex cult. Oh shit.
Whoa! I didn't hear anything.
Wait,
not that one.
yeah, you're not supposed to talk about the sex cult in the public stream. We're supposed to keep that to ourselves.
That's not what the orb is.
It's true.
Dose orb.
That's true. Well, this feels like a good time for the mass announcement. I think it feels good. It feels like the right time. So I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna drop it. I'm really excited because actually this is gonna be the first one that I'm not playing. I don't have a drum roll, but everybody do a drum roll on your desk.
I can do better than that. Yo. I feel like there might be a little bit of techno that night. I can. Just a tiny bit. These graphics are sick, by the way. Really dig this. Nice. That's how it goes, though. That's like, every time you swear at it, it's an extra like 5 minutes taken off render time.
Oh. Well, you know what? I get to say it all over again because I was muted. Holy shit. That's fun. Again, Corvifractus. I can't believe I have to say all that again. But you know what? I'm stoked to. Because I'm stoked about who's playing. Synthesizer, Finn, Kabu, Grey Mage. I think this is Grey's first ever VR show, which is supremely rad. And yeah, we got Synthesizer, who I've been meaning to have on for a long time. Finn, I've also been meaning to have on for a long time. Kabu's been crushing it. It's exciting. This is it's kind of hard to go back and say the things you just already said, but I am legitimately really I'm trying to remember everything I just fucking said, but I'm legitimately stoked for this one. It's the first one I'm not playing, which is cool. I'm stoked to just help with visuals and do some other stuff. Yeah, like this lineup is something that I'm really excited about. The animation you were talking about, I made that last night in the wee hours of the morning with some friends on VC, and I was swearing at it, and I think that catches up everything I said. But come on down. I'm gonna post this poster on Twitter after this. RT the fuck out of it, please, so that we can have as many friends in the building as possible. And this will also be one of the last shows at Mass in its current form. I think there will be one or maybe two more in its current form, and then it's going away. So definitely come through, because it's not going to stay the same forever. But real stoked to have the homies Synthesizer, Finn, Kabu, and Grey Mage. October 22nd, 2021. Mass.
That's sick.
The Metaversal Audio Signal System. And for anybody that doesn't know, a little bit of lore, so the mech is a giant antenna, basically. The world exists, it's the VR equivalent of a world that exists on the astral plane, and Mass sits inside a mountain that's made out of opposing psychic forces. And Mass is created by some entities that I'm not really certain about, and it's guarded by these clones of the people that used to inhabit that mountain before Mass was there. For whatever reason, what happened. I co-rate all the lore for this stuff with an AI, or with GPTJ in this case, and so I don't even know what's coming next, because I develop prompts and a loose narrative, and then I work with that thing to determine what the next steps are, which is fun. But basically how Mass works is it just throws up an antenna, and it searches for really passionate signals of light and sound, and it interprets those into the metaverse. And that's what Mass is. It's a big antenna, basically. So that's that. That lore is actually also in the Discord. If you're not in there, you can read all the cracked, super fucked up GPTJ lore that's in there. Some of it doesn't make any sense, and I love it. It's highly psychedelic and weird.
Highly psychedelic and weird?
Oh yeah, I live in that space.
That doesn't seem like
Yeah, well, I'm stoked, and I'm honored to have all those people play, and I'm really looking forward to that night. I'm gonna do a couple little upgrades in the building too, so join us. Don't miss it. Oh, you got anything good coming up? What are you working on?
My next big project is I am doing a big video on a game that was important to me when I was growing up. It's a combination of things. It's like there's this dude, right? Okay, whenever I pitch this to people, they're always like, it sounds like shit, but here we go. There's this dude, I don't know if you're familiar with him. His name is Action Button. He makes these really long YouTube videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like it's like a 3-hour, like his last one I think was like a 6-hour review of a game, and it's like 5 or 6 video essays in like one thing. The dude's obsessive. Like he spends 800 hours making one video, and it's just like the level of detail is ludicrous. But what makes this guy
Jesus.
yeah, like he's currently been working on a Cyberpunk 2077 video. He's been working on it for the last like 6 months, and said he had like over 1,000 hours on it, and I believe him. Like the level of detail that he goes through is just absurd. And one of the crazy things about this dude, he has a condition. It's basically like a photographic memory where he literally cannot forget things. So he has a complete recall of all of his like childhood memories and whatnot. So as he's like giving his review of this game, he's constantly tying it into his like life experiences. And he's a 40-year-old dude. He like lived in Japan for like 20 years, has worked in like the game industry, and like has all these like worked as like a game reviewer and all these other things. But he just pulls in this like narrative of his life combined with like stuff from the game, and it's just like the most. It sounds just like, why would you listen to someone ramble about themselves for like 6 hours straight? But it's like the most like engaging shit, and his like attitude and just everything about it, just it's so fucking cool and good. And I've been watching his stuff for a while, and so I was like, had that in one half of my brain, and the other half of my brain was like, I don't want to do another VR video after like all the stuff I did earlier in the year. I want to just take a break and focus on something else. Mm-hmm. And I got this idea to make a video about Jedi Knight Academy, which was like the linchpin of why I like video games. It's like it was like the first game that I dumped like on hundreds of hours in as a kid, and had like a little group of friends that played that are literally like the same people that I know now, like 18 years later. So it's just like the depth there. I just want to really focus on that. But I'm in no rush to complete that. Joining the VRchat team has slowed me to a crawl because there's so much shit that I've had to learn and do that like I haven't spent a lot of time on it, but I'm trying to be cool with that and just work on it when I get the urge. But it'll probably be done by the end of the year. And outside of that, I don't know. I've been trying to put some time into doing DJ stuff. Been trying to, not just for the purposes of performance, but the purposes of like intentionally listening to music, which is I've fallen in during the pandemic to just like having music as background noise rather than like I'm actually paying attention and really vibing with something.
Active listening,
Yeah. Been trying to do a little of that. But yeah, I think that's basically it for me. I don't have any other big projects coming out.
How do you like the adjustment working at VRchat?
It's pretty good. It's
You have to say that publicly.
it's mandated. No, it's probably the best thing I've done, or the best choice I ever made, was to leave my previous career. I'm sure anybody I know I'm very much preaching to the choir, because there's plenty of people like this that I've met in the community, but like my experiences working in marketing for like 7 years was just, I realized I got to a point where I was like, if I keep doing this, like my current job wasn't terrible, but it was trending down. And my wife worked in marketing for 10 years and she burnt out 2 years ago, and like it was awful. And I was like, I know that's coming for me, and I could feel it this year. And I just was like, okay, first opportunity I see, I'm leaving. And it just so happened that the first opportunity that popped up was like a dream opportunity. So I feel super lucky about that. Super, super lucky.
Yo, hell yeah. That's amazing. So how did that come about? Like, did they approach you or you approach them?
I approached them. I kind of was like, I don't know. I had an open mind to it for a while, because it was one of those things where I was like, I think I want to do this. I'm not sure if I want to do this or not. Months ago, because I was in a different space with my job, and just my head was just completely different. But after like 2 years of the pandemic and a bunch of stuff in my personal life, it just kind of got to this point where I was like, you know, I'm thinking I'd be willing to take like something that I think is like a little riskier than like, you know, a career that I've had for almost a decade. And I happened to see it just pop up one day, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, why not? Like, I'll just go for it, and I did. And you know, I interviewed with the team, and I was blown away by how cool everyone was. And I haven't felt genuine job anxiety in like a decade or more. Like I haven't. I started off, I taught. Like that was my first career, was I was a professor. And so like I had my first day of teaching, no anxiety standing in front of kids. There's nothing about it. Marketing, just never really felt it, never really any job anxiety. Same thing for interviews, always like calm, cool, whatever, never gets to me. Then for the VRchat interview, I remember I had like my second interview, and it was with somebody at the company. I remember just getting out of that, and I was just so fucking nervous. I was like shaking because I was so excited. I was like, holy shit, yeah, huh? Like this is the place I need to be working at. And it was just like, my mind was just fried. Like,
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, those decisions are, they like, I don't know. I got a lot of respect for people that go out of their way to make decisions ahead of when they must make a decision. You know, that's hard. That's hard to do.
It's like
a lot of people wait until they're forced to make a decision to make a decision.
Yeah, it's like I had this. I could see I could see where things were going, and it's kind of like you have. I feel like this is something that almost everybody can relate to, right? Where it's like, as a kid, as even a young adult, when you're first going to college or whatever, and you're like, or just like in your early 20s or late teens, you kind of have like this dream career and this dream job. And like every year that goes by, it just gets beaten out of you. Either your experiences or just like people tell you like get real, any kind of stuff like that just sets you up in this way where you just kind of leave it and you're like, nah, I don't need to do that shit. Whatever. I can like do the just go and make money, come home sort of thing and do my hobby. And I think that works for a lot of people. But I think you fool yourself after a certain amount of time. And like what poisoned me, it was that I love teaching. Teaching was like it was fucking awesome, man. That's the best feeling in the world, is to pass on knowledge. And having known what it is to like, I love what I'm doing, and not have that for 7 years. Like for a while I was like cool with it. I'm like, I'm making good money, I can deal with this. But over time I could feel it creeping up on me. Like, nah, like you know what it feels like to love your job, and like just having a cool hobby when you get home isn't doing it. And especially when I was making those videos for the first time, that was just making me realize what was missing. Like I realized for like the last 7 years, I hadn't done anything creative. Like all my writing, everything else was just going into work. Like my hobby just became consuming shit, not actually making anything. And once I started making stuff, it was like that switch was flipped, and you can't turn it off. And I knew it was only a matter of time before that was going to take my whole body over if I didn't just leave.
Good for you. Yeah, it genuinely is hard to make decisions ahead of time, or ahead of when you're forced to, and that's some wild shit. It's not easy at all. Actually, that's a lot of the hardest choices we have to make. We have to try to, yeah, like you gotta roll the dice sometimes. You just gotta fucking follow your gut. I mean, that's some cheesy kind of cliche shit, but it's the truth. It's the absolute truth, and those are really hard decisions to make. So yeah, cheers. I'm proud for you. That's fucking awesome, and I'm stoked to see more stuff from you. I think we're approaching the 2-hour mark, so I think it's a good time to sort of settle it down a little bit. I really appreciate you taking the time out to be here, though. We'll definitely have to do this more often, eh?
Hell yeah. Yeah. No, I said this off air, but I can talk for hours and hours and hours, especially about stuff I'm passionate about. And there's literally nothing more that I'm passionate about than basically all the things that you love to talk hours and hours about. So yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of good chats coming in. Actually, I'd like to get you on with maybe a couple other people too. I've enjoyed in the past having multiple people on and just sprucing it up a bit. Actually, the next time too, I want to do I'm thinking about having like a if you want to call in and talk about something kind of thing. So I'm working on that feature right now. So just boot people into the conversation in and out. Because a lot of times we'll get on stuff and like someone will be like an expert on whatever that is in the chat sitting right there, and then I think it'll be fun, or just have people in and clown or whatever. So this format for what Signal is really just about getting to know each other better and just having some fun in the process. So I'm stoked for that. And also I'm posting a link in the chat right now. That's the tweet for announcing the show. If you wouldn't mind just slamming that retweet, I would love you more than I already do, even though that's not possible. It's not possible. And yeah, I'm stoked to see all of your shining polygons at Mass. Frank, I appreciate you immensely for all of the hard work you've done back there. I saw you everything from being trapped in a spooky elevator to ripping a rally car, building blocks, and everything in between. And see, can we get a Frank on the cam? Can we see your beautiful face? Okay, there you are. What are you doing now? You're about to dance? What is that? You dancing? You ripping? Oh shit. Oh shit. I didn't even know this was a map. That looks fun. You trying to get your dance on? Yo.
No one works harder.
No one works harder than Frank. That's true. Frank got burned a full 2,000 calories during this whole cast. But until next time, love you, appreciate you, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.
Peace.